All right, Noah, this is a different format for us this week.
It's the new format. It's never going back.
No, it's going to go back.
Moved across the ocean.
No,
you're never going to see me again next to him. I'm never going to see him again. I don't even see him now.
Hey, guess what? We have Junior Egg here with us.
The real Junior Egg? I thought you weren't going to show up, but you're here.
Hello.
We were just going to complain about you the whole time if you didn't show up, but now you're here, so we don't have to cancel you.
Well, I can cancel myself if need be.
So I'm Doug Lain. This is my son Noah Lain, but he goes by Orgle online. And you are the famous Junior Egg or Jreg or Greg.
Wait, I thought that it was an R right after the G. Now it's G.
Yeah, it's J. It's pronounced Jreg.
What is it?
Jreg. Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad to have you on our stream. This is something I've been doing YouTube for a little while. I used to do it for a book company, and now I do it on my own. Mm-hmm. But I'm not a Twitch guy. But you're both, right? You do Twitch and you do YouTube. Is this correct?
I dabble. I dabble in the Twitch. I mainly do the YouTube.
Okay. So I'm glad to have you on. This is my son. This is our show called Zoomer Philosophy. And on the very first show, he tried to convince me that we needed to abolish gender altogether. This is what we discussed.
I know that you're against this.
Yeah, I'm pretty anti-gender abolitionist myself. But okay, go on. Interesting. I mean, gender abolition, that's a pretty common position on the cultural left.
It is
entirely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why are you against the idea?
Well, I'm a gender accelerationist.
Yes.
No. What does that mean exactly?
I just think there should be more genders, like not less. Like abolishing gender is going in the wrong direction.
See now, I feel like
that needs to be explained. Why more? Why is that a good thing?
Okay, think about it, right? We have two genders. That's the baseline. Two genders. All right. Now, if we go from two genders to zero genders, then we're taking away two fun frameworks to play with, male and female. The gender people are doing, they're adding more and more frameworks on top of these two original base frameworks. We've got the things we've been playing with for so long, with some variations here and there in the past, obviously. And now we have cat gender, we have chicken nugget gender, we have. I say the more of those you can pile on, the better. And in piling on more and more, you make yourself as a human being, you make your identity this extremely complicated cross-section, this niche of like 1,000 different identities, and you make yourself the most unique thing possible. And then maybe you can market that to achieve post-human singularity.
Can I ask a couple of boomer questions? I'm actually Gen X, but I want to ask a couple of boomer questions at this point.
That's all the same. It's all the same to us, believe.
Okay. Fine. But before you were even born, I was mad at the boomers. So what I want to know is, how does sexual orientation fit with all these different genders? Like when you've got two genders, there's a possibility of being gay or straight, right? Yes. The gender, it fits into your sexual orientation. You are attracted to either the opposite gender or the same gender. Now, if you are cat gendered, would you be specifically attracted to the chicken nugget gender, or what genders would you most likely be sexually attracted to as a cat gender person?
What's your take on this?
Well, here is what I've learned at school, which is that gender has nothing to do with sexuality. I was told this in my science class / health class because they couldn't afford a health program. Mm-hmm. So
I'm gonna let you two talk for a bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I understand that you think that you put male and female like in D on your gender rankings.
Well, they're played out. They're played out.
You think?
Toys.
So what do you think about just getting rid of those? I feel like we don't need if we're going to, because like when I thought for a bit about well, all right, well, if we have so many things and there's so little difference between them, then at a certain point, there's no really useful distinction. But then I thought to myself, so those words become meaningless if we then get rid of the distinction. But then I thought, well, if they become meaningless, then we'll just be like the Germans who use like der and to describe a chair or something. Because let's now gender objects. What do you think about Germans gendering objects? Are you for that? Should we gender objects?
I think Germans should gender objects, but with all the different kinds of genders. So we need like der, glur, schmlur, flublur, depending on, I think every object might, ideally have its own gender.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough, but can humans now have objects, gender objects? Can we now decide that we want the genders of objects? Should we be able to do that, or should it not be allowed, like how you can only be like a Jewish gender if you're Jewish?
Right. You know? Well,
I felt like that was very limiting.
Well, some genders are, they seem to be based upon certain realities, certain parts of the person that are immutable. And so not every gender can apply to every single person. For example, there's the PTSD genders that only apply to people who have some kind of traumatic history. And so for anybody to identify as PTSD gender, well, that sort of delegitimizes. And some people would say that, a male gender needs to associate with certain characteristics of your identity that are immutable. And that's why we have like a million different kinds. And some of those genders are, you can apply it to anything. But should we have lamp gender? Yes. Yes, we should have lamp gender. If I look at a lamp and I say, this expresses me, then I gotta, I want to be a lamp.
Okay.
See, now, so, I feel like
I want to talk to you about your politics.
As someone who has PTSD without having to have PTSD, because if it's very exclusive, and basically, if we're not letting people without PTSD identify that they do have PTSD, we're basically just doing racial segregation all over again.
Exactly.
So anyone who wants to identify as having the gender related to post-traumatic stress disorder should be allowed to do so, is what?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I want to ask you about your politics.
I'm transgender,
because I feel as though I am suddenly finding myself aligning with Jordan Peterson, who I hate. But listening to you guys talk, I'm like, this is chaos. This is anarchy and destruction.
That's because
you can be lobster gender.
It's because you're an off left and he's an off right, you see, and you're both on the off quadrant, and so that puts you in a natural alliance against the degens. That's probably what it is. And,
I am also a communist, so
you're also.
I don't want an overarching authority. I want like a little group of people that switch out every few months and should also be constantly changing their genders.
Oh, okay. So you're like anarcho. It's like kind of like an anarcho-communist, but with some switching gender thing. Like the gender is also a gender anarchy system.
Yeah, I just don't think one person should have all that power. I think that we should probably have a group of like maybe 20 individuals or so that sit around a round table and then decide who they want to go to war with in a nationless world, because now we're all just one unified people.
Man, I sometimes I look at what people are, what we're saying from the perspective of Douglas Lain. Is that how you say your last name?
Yeah, Lain. Yeah,
Lain.
And I'm the kind of guy that puts my name up. Like, what the hell is my problem? I clearly don't know how this works. I'm I might as well be signing a DM to you. Like, Anyway, go ahead.
I wonder if you view this I wonder if you view this gender stuff as like a form of what do you make of all of this like hyper individuation? Because I mean, you say you identify more with Jordan Peterson, right? When you're like,
just when I listen to you, Junior Egg.
Yeah, but almost like in opposition to all of this gender nonsense as you see it, like. it almost like you sort of start like falling back on some kind of Petersonian analysis where you're like, okay, well, there's a million different intersections of your 1,000 different genders. Well, then isn't just the only unit, the primary unit of the like individuation, just the individual? Is like what are you thinking when you I want to dig into your disgust. I want to get into.
Here's it's not so much disgust. It's just that I feel as though there's an urge to destroy that you're putting forward, and you happen to pick gender, but it could be anything. And
I
you said that said that German people should use every different kind of gender in order to gender objects. At which point,
give me 1 second.
Learning German, like speaking German at that point, would be impossible, right?
It wouldn't be impossible. It would be extremely difficult. It would be much harder.
Yeah.
And that's
to what end? To what end?
To what end? Well, you create these layers and layers of complexity. It's the same reason I'm a neo-traditional, anarcho-totalitarian communal capitalist, right? It's because I have a nice little word string of labels, and I get some kind of identity through these labels, because the world is noisy and confusing, and the more labels I have, the less noisy and confusing the world is. I've developed these heuristics in order to guide myself through chaos.
I just think that you're making yourself as noisy and chaotic and as confused as the world that you find yourself born in.
Yes, but though that's my noise, baby. That's my noise.
Yeah, but all make the same kind of noise around the same things. Like, so, like, okay. In all honesty, I think that it's silly, right? And I think that when you talk about it, that's the point of it. But what I like about when you talk about it is that you think it's silly, but it's not the same kind of joke as, next I'm going to identify as an attack helicopter. That's not what you're doing at all. Mm-hmm. You're fully identified with the milieu that creates a million different genders,
right?
And yet you're still being satirical about it.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes to your video about post-satire and meta-satire. And I think you're doing meta-satire. Huh?
Orgle knows I'm being serious.
Orgle knows.
There's definitely some seriousness to this that I'm uncomfortable with. But I would like to say that when it comes to creating all these genders, I think what it really boils down to is a hate of the world we live in. So it wants to somehow differentiate itself so far away from anything that is known, because we hate this world so much that we have decided that the only way to acceptably identify ourselves is to be so absurd that everyone in this world hates us.
Wow, that's a very good analysis, Orgle. I like that analysis. I like that one. That's good.
Okay.
So when I see this, it makes me think, I'm worried that everyone's just going to, because I think it's almost a destruction of like this shared identity. We want to separate ourselves far away from everyone, so we don't want to identify
as a group is this ever. Not a techno-capital manifesting as the post-human singularity? Be real with me, Douglas.
Yeah, well, I'm all for that. I'm for the singularity, but well, kind of.
You want the Borg? Because I also want the Borg.
I'm for the singularity because I feel like it's a way we imagine basically communism, where we all share in the general intellect, and there's a lot of automation, and we don't have to work. It's the way we imagine it from within the capitalist system. So it's pointing towards communism. Really, it's one way of thinking of it.
Because the way I see it is, all right. You say, well, obviously, I'm not going to identify as an attack helicopter. What if, 50 years from now, I could get implants in my sides where like these like Gatling guns shot out of my sides, and I put a helicopter, a propeller on my head, and I can actually do that, and I can actually fly around and then identify as an attack helicopter. Who's going to stop me? Who's going to stop me?
Well, that would be like a cyberpunk novel, right? Yes. I mean, that's like already been written about, and people did that. So yeah, right. But the people right now,
layer of sarcasm,
but would that be a gender? Like, couldn't you be a girl or a boy attack helicopter? Well, I mean, why? What would that have to do with the gender?
Objects.
Yeah, the thing is, I identify as an attack helicopter more than I identify with as a boy or a girl. Like that supersedes everything. This is post-irony, where something that starts out as a joke becomes subsumed And I kind of view Capital as doing the same thing with any kind of critique against it. Just blah, 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 eats it up. But who knows? So
I think that's a fair point.
Well, here's my schizophrenic vision of the future, right? Like, if somebody on TikTok, if we get the ability to like dye your skin purple, we make fun of transracial people right now. Oh, use transracial. That's like a meme. If I can dye my skin purple and then I can graft a unicorn horn to my head and then I go on TikTok and 100 million people follow me. Everyone, obviously, there will be a bioconservative backlash. People are like, no, he can't be a unicorn. And, Tucker Carlson, unicorns in my nation? I don't think so. But it doesn't matter because 100 million people follow me on TikTok, and some of the people who follow me on TikTok become unicorns themselves, and that's how you get unicorns. And what if unicorns are more popular than regular people? How do we deal with the unicorn master race? These are the kinds of things you need to be thinking about right now.
Okay, so
I will like to say that if you do
go
decide
ahead.
to become a unicorn, that you will definitely be more sexualized than you already are, and I know how much you hate that because you just
I hate it meta ironically in an ambiguous state of hating it or not. Because
you made a whole video about how you don't want people to sexualize you, so I don't know.
Yeah, but then I take off my shirt.
I understand. I'm joking.
I would love to hear your analysis here, Doug.
Well, can I? I'm gonna, as a boomer, I'm gonna interject. God damn it! I am calling myself a boomer now. This is not good.
That's the power of linguistic framing. Sometimes you can get talked out of your own labels.
I'm not a boomer. Damn it! I'm Gen X.
Now you're Nugget Junior. You're Nugget Junior.
All right. So and that, by the way, being Gen X is my gender. Okay. So
you're Jenks gender.
Yeah, I'm Gen X gender, and there's like a picture of Molly Ringwald in the flag, and so. Or you probably don't even know who that is. But
I'm laughing because I don't know who it is.
I do know who that is. It's the woman from Pretty in Pink.
Yeah. She was in the Breakfast Club. Never mind. We're moving on. What was I going to say about? Oh, I was going to say about this unicorn scenario. Is that it reminds me of something that Slavoj Žižek once said, that in this society we can imagine any kind of techno-utopian future. Any kind of possibility seems open to us. We're totally free. If we wanted to, we could split our penises in half and have two penises. We can possibly live forever. The techno-utopians are talking about eliminating death. But what we can't do is figure out a way for everyone to have equal access to health care or have stable wages, or for there not to be a mass of people who are chronically underemployed or unemployed, or for there to be mass differences between the nations and the possibility of war brewing, or to do anything about climate change. All these things, which are relatively modest goals in comparison to living forever and having two dicks, are way outside of the realm of possibility. So whenever we get too caught up in these fantasies of becoming unicorns, we should think, what is it that we're not allowed to realistically fantasize about? Why are we being held back from making some substantial changes that are more universal?
Yeah, I totally understand that analysis, and that's why I'm trying to make as much money as possible so that I can be on top. I need to be the one who can change my skin purple so that I can get all these plebs to funnel me money. Meanwhile, people are starving to death.
That is my goal with this. I want to trick people into thinking I'm a luxury gay space communist, which I am. But I would really, if you guys would donate to his Patreon, I could eat out a lot more. So that would be nice.
Right now, I am
plugging his Patreon.
The Patreon is my livelihood at the moment. So okay. What were we talking about before that sad note was struck? We were talking about the politics, and I wanted to ask you, Junior Egg, whether or not I'm not going to call you J Gay or whatever you wanted me to call you. I'm going to call you Junior Egg.
That's fine. Call me something different every time.
Okay.
I'll call him J Gay.
What I want to ask you is, in one video you said that you were a social democrat, unironically. Is that true? I know I can't really count on whatever you're going to say to be true.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
For the sake of this conversation, we'll say that's true, right?
So, Bernie, are you a Bernie supporter?
Bernie, yes, but exactly Bernie and no more. And in fact, sometimes Bernie calls himself a democratic socialist, and that makes me go, because democratic socialism, the wrong way. Neoliberalism,
like that's very
the old way. Social democracy, the right way.
Nice. So
I feel like that's very centrist of you for being the anti-centrist.
Well, yeah,
Why
this
don't you
is what I
want
was
to go to
gonna.
the very extremes? Say
Yeah,
everyone
I was
should
being
just live in
ironic,
the
you see? I was being ironic the whole time.
There's too many layers of irony for even me to get. You're like 3 generations down, buddy. You're 3 generations ahead of your time with this irony.
Which one is it, back or forward? Have you seen Mort Saul
both.
explaining politics in 1967? Do you know who Mort Saul is?
Mort Saul, no.
Mort Saul. He died recently at the age of 90, so I know who he is. You know, but he used to do a whole routine about social democrats and the spectrum of politics, the right and the left, and in the middle, right in the center, there's the social democrats, and then he would talk about the people of his time and put them on the chart.
Okay. Now, as you all know, politics is supposed to be divided up into 2 groups, the left and the right. I'm going to show you how to use a chart tonight based on psychometrics, semantics, and calculus so that you'll be able to classify anybody in the world politically. Now, I did all the math, so I'll show you how this works. Then you can play this game with your date on the way out of the theater. We like to bring people together. Now, the chart goes like this. It has 2 categories. Up here, we have the left wing. You can shudder if you'd like. The left wing is made up of the Communist Party, which has a membership, I'm sorry to say, of 4,000, 3,000 of whom are FBI agents. Over here, we have the right wing, which is made up of various people, John Birch Society, capitalism, fascism, and finally greed, if we can work it out. That's over here. Now, the question is, where is everybody? Because that's certainly not any of us. Most people are in the, they're in the middle because you lose your job if you stay here, and you have to go to too many meetings if you belong to this. So most people are here. And most people are in the middle. They're middle-of-the-road people. In Europe, they're called social democrats in German elections. So we'll call them social democrats.
Oh, interesting. Where was Mort Saul on this chart?
I think he flipped back and forth between being on the right wing of the left wing and being on the left wing of the center and the social democratic left wing. And then sometimes he was on the left wing of the right wing, depending on the era that he was in.
So he floated around the middle, basically.
Yeah, well, you know, what he said is like, what he said at one point is like Martin Luther King. He's on the left wing of the social democratic center. He's a left-wing social democrat, Martin Luther King, until he gets his rights. Then he'll be in the right wing of the social democratic. So, like, you know, what happens is people change. Their circumstances change, and then they move around on that chart. You aren't going to be just set. That's the other thing I want to talk to you about is this political compass nonsense. It's like, I feel like it reifies our politics. It sets us up as individuals stuck on a map, as if these things are just
you can move around in the political
that we're born into, and you know, and you can put a label on, rather than being, you know, positions that came out of historical moments, and that, you know, we're trying to overcome problems in that moment, and that we have to think through and then get beyond. Like the difference between, say, a left-wing communist libertarian and a Leninist may not be as great as we think. Mm-hmm. Like these categories are fixed. Mm-hmm. I say that as someone who's becoming a Leninist. I want to convince all the... Right? Yeah,
no, I'm not surprised. And I'm also, I feel like that's why the left anarchists are called anarchides, right? By the older, more wizened communist types, right? Because it's like, oh, you've got that childish ideology everyone has when they're 16, but I actually read some theory and got a little bit grumpier, and now I'm a Leninist.
Yeah, okay, fair. You did. But I feel that my movement from being an anarchist when I was in my 20s,
right,
being a Marxist now, has been a move to the left.
Okay, yeah. I hear that a lot, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting because like the left anarchists conceptualize themselves as being as far to the left as possible, and tankies as right wing. And
I'm not a tanky, by the way. I'm not a tanky.
They would call anyone to the authoritarian end of them tanky because
Right.
when you look up, the difference between the moon and the sun and the stars all kind of just seem up, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, but then also, yes, council communists, like leftists, like the ultra left, Stalinists, they all view themselves as left as you can go as well. It's kind of like a competition. Who can be the most left?
Yeah. Well, it would be me.
Yes.
Turns out.
Yeah, of course. Yes. No, just to be
I
clear,
will say that I will kill you and take your place.
Wait,
No,
Orgle.
yeah.
What is your view on like what is the most left you could be?
Oh, I don't like the idea that our political ideation is based entirely only on our current goals, and that after that, when we achieve something close to it, we don't have any more political really opinions. Because I have an idea for the future that I want forever. I want it to be Star Trek, and if anyone disagrees with me, we will have to have another revolution. That's
Excellent.
just the way it is.
So you are a very good example of the fully automated luxury gay space communist.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very nice. I don't think I've ever met one of them in person, so it's great to make your acquaintance.
As a Marxist, I align with the fully automated gay luxury communists, but as a straight guy, I wonder, why does it have to be gay?
Why does it have to be gay?
Because it's sexier. It's hotter and it's now.
The gay part is inseparable from the rest of it. We're living in 2022 now. It's got to be gay.
Oh my God.
The reason I will say it's gay is because there's actually something, the luxury part and the gay part go together, at least to Che Guevara, who was against being gay because he thought it was a capitalist luxury.
Yeah.
You're rolling your eyes.
Well, you're insulting my forefather here. I am related to Che Guevara.
Are you?
Yeah, my last name is Guevara.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know you were related. But what do you think of that? I'm insulting your forefathers.
How do you escape being
my
canceled?
forefathers were slave
Being
owners.
related
I'm not
to-
particularly proud of that
Well,
either.
okay. I think you're believing some CIA imperialist nonsense.
That might be true.
Everything you hear about Che Guevara that you don't like is CIA imperialism. But if you like the fact that he was anti-gay, then that part wasn't CIA imperialism.
Like he put gay, like at least this is what I've read on the internet. I don't know how true it is.
It was just an FBI agent. And then he killed the gays and the blacks.
Could be the CIA telling me that. I don't know. If it is, I trust them. I believe the lizard men should.
I imagine Hillary Clinton is doing it, sitting in a cave somewhere.
Yeah, it's all
laptop
Hillary
type.
Clinton's blog. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I just feel as though maybe communism can be for every sexual orientation and not just the gays, which brings me back to the gender question, because in a world with chicken McNugget genders and lamp genders and cat genders, can there be such a thing as what it is to be gay anymore? What does that even mean in such a world?
You really are Gen X, aren't you? Yeah.
Totally.
All the so-called TERFs are like they're like Gen X like feminists.
I'm not. That's not a turf question.
I know. I'm just. But there's a bit of this hand-wringing. There's a bit of this hand-wringing as progress progresses. You know, the culturally left becomes more and more culturally left. They push and push and push. That sometimes, like just a standard gay person looks down and sees that progress has progressed to the point where, you know, they used to be the controversial topic and now there's a new controversial topic. I mean, it gets to the point where ContraPoints, a trans woman who went from male to female, a clear binary switch is now not even the talking point anymore, because we have all of these million other genders to talk about instead. And she's just, you know, she's old. Like the issue of going from male to female or female to male, that's almost like old news. We're like, all right, let's move on to the next thing. Let's get these next ideas in our gullet. Nom 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 nom.
Yeah, but all right, you didn't answer my question. First of all,
Okay.
you insulted me by saying I'm Gen X.
All right,
And then, but let me. So my question was, okay, but I'm going to say something else too. But my question was, in a world with chicken McNugget genders, and now I just realizing, as I say this the second time, I'm realizing I'm granting far too much. There are no Chicken McNugget gendered people.
All right,
This is-
reactionary.
I feel like you'd be surprised of how many there are, Father.
Yeah, if there was
They could be
one, I
living
would
in
be
your
shocked.
house.
I would fall over
Yeah.
dead if there was one.
I hear this with ideology all the time. Oh, there's no Nazbols, and then like every right winger just becomes like a right wing communist, like a fascist, Marxist. Like
So you're calling me a Nazbol?
No. I know what you are. You're. I believe you when you say you're a Leninist. I think that's pretty accurate.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I'm becoming a Leninist. So no, my point is that if you have a multitude of genders, including genders around identifying with lamps, that sexual orientation itself becomes I don't know, it becomes completely unmoored. There's no you can't and I would say that at that point with that many genders, everyone's part of the LGBTQ community. By the way, like I've recently, personal thing, but everybody who watches this knows, I recently divorced, started dating again, and I decided I'm part of the LGBTQ community because I'm demisexual.
You don't believe it. That's the difference. I believe it.
Oh, I see. So you believe you are part of the LGBTQ community.
I know I am. I'm gender.
Because you're what? What's your gender?
Greg gender.
Yeah, Greg gender. Don't you remember it was the top of the list?
Yeah, my pronouns are Jreg. I believe it. That's the difference between, the thing is, like, if you call yourself demisexual, and with a bit of this, like, well, it's the kids are doing it. You're trying to engage. But unless you can really be, unless you can get into that cognitive dissonant point where you truly are that thing and you can't even remember, you can't even think yourself out of it. That's where you got to get. And it's a long journey, but I believe in you. I think you can.
How much time do I need to spend on 4chan in order to get to this perspective?
I think you can speed things up just by banging your head against the wall.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So do you have any other family news that you want to relate to the entire Twitch community, son, Orgle?
Have you guys met my godfather?
Oh God,
Because he's around. I can put him on screen.
That was a sarcastic, ironic thing. Let's not start talking about our family life. So do you
All right.
want to go?
I would like to ask about your family life, though.
It was ironic. Oh, I swear it was ironic. Please. It was just a satire, bro.
I'm not saying it. I'm not going down there. I'm not saying anything I say is ironic. In fact, everything I've ever said is true.
You know what? Yeah. I call you a boomer a lot, but I actually really appreciate a Gen X perspective because I know you guys were the first people to start tinkering with the idea of irony. Is that true?
Not the first, but we certainly did. I mean, obviously, like look at Andy Kaufman. He was a boomer, right? I mean, obviously, irony existed. I think you mentioned a guy named Swift. I mean, I think it's been around. But yeah, we certainly had. We were the first generation that people would say, "Oh, they're too ironic," or their irony is protecting them from capitalism. That was something that people said about us. Oh, they were brought up on TV, so they're super media savvy, and they've got a whole lingo of their own, and we're resistant to brainwashing and advertising. We're super. We were like the Reddit generation because Reddit.
That's what people said about the ones who were brought up on books.
So that was Gen X.
You read?
Yeah, right. When you brought up on books, the same thing happened.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, like David Letterman. I wanted to bring up David Letterman and Andy Kaufman to you because of your post-irony video where you said things like, "Oh, in the past, our fathers and grandfathers, all they had was one layer of irony."
It's a nice little narrative.
Yeah, and I just thought immediately of like Andy Kaufman, who had so many.
That's layers. True. Andy Kaufman is a good counterexample. I weave ageism into my explanation of irony because irony is a code. When you say something post-ironically, you're saying in a way where some people are not going to get it and some people are. And so irony reinforces the in-group. And by reinforcing an in-group, you need an out-group. And my out-group is old people.
Yeah, it's a safe out-group. Yeah.
Because they're going to be gone soon. You're going to need a new...
They're going to be gone. What? They're going to complain, and then 10 years later, they'll be dead. Whatever.
Yeah, well, you know.
And then I'll be old, and then the youth will do that to me, and that's the circle of life, baby. I know where I'm going. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. That's what I always say. Because I'm even Jordan Peterson, you see. I'm one of those.
Well, I know. You make fun of the old because you figure they're feeble and they can't do anything about it. And they're easily confused. You know, they lose, they forget things. So they're like, I'm mad at that. Who was I mad at? You know, that kind of thing. So
at the same time, I do appreciate the perspective of the elderly. And that's why I'm very interested in educating old people. So. Yeah,
that's why you came on this channel. Is when I told you that I had a Zoomer son. You said I'd be glad to educate the elderly.
Yes, and such a wise, intelligent Zoomer son too. Should be very proud.
I am proud of him, despite everything. But
that's a large compliment. I've been binging your videos. I think you're really funny, man. It's really nice to meet you.
I appreciate that. 0 layers of irony.
Yeah, 0 layers of irony there. Well, maybe one, and then maybe I'm on the 3rd layer of irony, so I'm back to being real.
Either way, it's fine.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
Before
I actually do mean it.
I feel like when you start telling someone, I really love what you do, that's like you're about to say goodbye, like they're about to leave the channel. But I don't want them to leave.
No, I am planning to keep him here for the next 3 hours.
Oh, I had my mouse over the leave button. I was about to just boop, but I guess I can stick around for another 5 minutes.
Okay, all right.
Oh, shit.
No, I wanted to ask you before you take off. We're not talking about 36 minutes, so if I get another 5, it's perfect length, for a little podcast. But whatever. I know you're a very busy man.
Oh yes,
yeah. So, but I wanted to ask you about that. Like, I'm looking at your channel and I'm realizing, oh wow, it's like 500,000 subscribers, and I don't know, people mailing you their underwear, and I don't know what's going on with your channel, but you blew up. How long did it take for you to become relatively big on YouTube? And did you expect to? And where did you start? Did you start on YouTube, or did you start like doing live events and performance?
So people always ask me, Greg, you were posting these videos. Did you ever expect to blow up? And I humbly say yes. Yes, yeah. I always knew that I would blow up. I knew the exact date and time, you see. Because of my schizophrenia, I can see the future. And in my dreams, this exact date, April 16th, 2019, kept flashing in front of my head. This is the day you will blow up. Boom, boom, boom. And then I just, I was like, all right, I just coasted my way. I released a video.
But I thought your PTSD counteracted that, so you can't see the future because you can only see the past. So now you're just seeing the present.
Yeah, that was actually the whole video where I explained that was just me being a chronic liar, which is not a mental illness, it's more of just a subset of sociopathy. I started posting videos when I was 10.
Wow.
But I didn't start regularly.
So that would have been like 5 years ago. Anyway, go ahead.
I didn't start regularly posting. Yes, and the boomers are learning some. So 10, and then I posted semi-regularly until I was probably 20. And then when I was 20, Philip DeFranco, big YouTuber, shared one of my videos. And then I started posting pretty regularly, like at least once a week. And then one of the videos I posted was Political Compass Rap, and then that one blew up. And then I started talking about politics and thinking about philosophy as a YouTuber full-time.
Just what are you doing to your face right now? That's what I like. Stop that. Stop that,
He's
young man.
He's becoming that villain from Doctor Who. Remember, like the lady that has her face all stretched out?
Oh, my God.
She lives forever. She claims to be the human.
All right. Yeah. So,
I'm actually going to ask you about
stuck that way. Yeah. You'll do that and it will get stuck that way forever. All right. So, well, that's cool. So, one of the other part of the question was, had you already been performing before you started doing YouTube videos? Like, I heard that you were slammed.
Yeah. Yeah, I did spoken word.
So when you were doing that, what was your aim? Did you think, I want to go to Hollywood, I want to become an actor? Do you think I want to be a writer? I want to write and publish work?
I just wanted to think,
I want to be a YouTuber.
Yeah, I wanted
to viable thing.
Desperately do anything creative in any form whatsoever, because I couldn't stand the idea of working in my hometown, Ottawa, as one of those government plebs. But luckily, lots of people are harassing the government plebs right now. So, good.
Okay. Yeah. So, well, any advice for an old boomer as to how to get Philip DeFranco to share one of my videos so I can blow up and spread the word of communism throughout the world?
Well, I would just say be consistent And as long as you keep putting stuff out there, eventually you'll die.
Thanks. All right. Now, see, that's the end of the podcast right there. That's where we end the podcast. That was a closer.
The rap video. What?
Okay, go ask the question. Go ahead.
I just want to know, because your critique of the communists and that is that they all starve to death. So I'm wondering, why am I so
They're
fat?
all, okay, listen very closely. Every single one of those characters is an amalgamation of truths, but also stereotypes about the quadrant. And one of the stereotypes about communists is that they starve to death. Just like the stereotype of the ANCAP is that they're a pedophile. Not all ANCAPs are pedophiles.
I would beg to differ. I've met many.
All right. Well, thank you, Jreg.
Yes. Thanks for having me.